Doug Ireland, Sports Information Director. You're going to be our Super One Foods Demon of the Day. Before we get to know you a little bit better, why don't you just give us a brief explanation of what you do?
I take Coach Black to lunch every day. And other than that, I plan where I'm going to take Coach Black to lunch.
It's a full-time job.
It is, but fortunately he gets me off the hook most days because he has the hookup with some other folks. And so I don't really have to do that very often.
That's great.
Yeah, but when I'm not doing that, we coordinate in the Sports Information Office all of the media relations for our athletic program. It involves radio, television, print media, website, social media, photography, video. It's a wide field, and basically the mission is to get as much exposure for our university and the wonderful stories we have to tell with our student athletes and the excitement we have to share about our teams.
Seen a lot of NSU games, contests. What are some of your favorite athletics moments?
Well, I think number one on the list would be watching Haley Blunt Titano break the pole vault record for the school. That was, that was inspiring. Never thought I'd see that. I did. It's not last week. It was back when she was an athlete. But no, there are just an endless reel. I was lucky enough to be in school when Joe Delaney was running the football for the Demons, and seeing his 299-yard game is still an indelible memory. And you go forward from there, and there are so many great memories I've been privileged to see. But I guess if there is one that stands above the rest, it's Auburn Hills, Michigan, St. Patrick's Day 2006, and that just stunning victory over the 15th ranked team in the country that still resonates today 12 years later. It's just astounding to contemplate what that win meant at the time and what it still means to this university.
It's a famous picture that encapsulates the winning shot, and you're in the background with Patrick Netherton on the radio. Do you still own all of those sweater vests that you got that you're sporting there?
I'll never get rid of them, that's for sure. That's critical. Look, it was St. Patrick's Day. I'm Irish. I did have green on.
When you were 5 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, a baseball player. Absolutely. Had my baseball uniform, had my wiffle bat, and had my glove, and still have that glove. That was definitely all I wanted to be when I was a kid.
You grew up in Jonesboro for the most part, but your family's from Pennsylvania. You're a Pittsburgh sports fan, Pirates, Steelers. How were you able to hold on to all of that coming down to Louisiana at such a young age?
I was pretty fortunate that as I became a teenager, the Pirates were just rocking it, the lumber company of the 70s. I got to see Clemente play in his last season, Stargell and all those guys. And then the Steelers were just starting to really get good, and they drafted a guy who I'd watched play in college up the road at Louisiana Tech, and Terry Bradshaw. And they kept drafting North Louisiana guys, including Sidney Thornton. So there was an obvious bond there, and just kept rolling. Now the Pittsburgh Penguins, all I can tell you is they play in Pittsburgh. It's hockey. It's easy to keep score, and they're two-time Stanley Cup champions.
Do you have a nickname, and what's the story behind it?
Two nicknames that I can talk about. One I got playing high school American Legion baseball, Penguin. That was because I played third base. Ron Say, who played for the Dodgers and later the Cubs, played third base. We had similar builds. He was nicknamed Penguin, so I was nicknamed Penguin, and that came through that was my CB handle back when CB radio was a big deal. And
different than a Twitter handle, right?
Absolutely, but nonetheless, instantaneous communication back in those days. Instead of getting on social media to find your buddies, you just got on channel whatever it might be, and that's where all your guys were. And hey, what's going on? And you just had a normal conversation. No character limit on CB radio, that's for sure. And golly, the other nickname, well, I guess Dougie will suffice.
Coaches started as players, and of course yourself as a sports information director started as a writer. What would be one thing that you'd tell a younger version of yourself?
Well, I'll go back to playing, because really what got me into this was my passion for athletics. And in high school, I was a very well-rounded athlete, played all the sports and enjoyed them all. Can't say I was great at any of them, but I was all right. And I guess what I would tell my earlier self, is what I would tell any athlete today here at Northwestern, is relax and enjoy it. I was a very intense competitor, and probably too intense, and I probably didn't relax and soak in the moment, not necessarily to enjoy it, but to be able to perform at a higher level, not be too wound up. And I'm so impressed as I see the very accomplished athletes here. Most of those kids are able to do that. They're able to compete at a high level and be very focused, but not so much so that it gets in the way of their performance. And I think sometimes I was trying too hard and overthinking it. And that's, if I had it to do over again, that's what I would change.
Doug Ireland, we're to the rapid fire part of the interview now. We'll try to keep this one under 6 minutes.
Good luck.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I'm going to have to ask Jim Henderson. Dr. Henderson is currently engaged in the debate as to whether a Pop-Tart is a sandwich. And I don't know that he ever resolved the hot dog a sandwich question, but I do love hot dogs.
Who is the best social media follower on your team?
My team is probably the administrative team, the sports information crew. The easy answer would be Coach Black if he had Twitter, but he doesn't have Twitter. So I'm going to go to Demons Forkum. Greg Burke. Not only do you see him constantly promoting Northwestern athletics, but his passion for both Northwestern athletics, for Cleveland sports, and boy, that's had to have been tough through the years.
Hasn't it?
And just anything that he believes in, Greg really pours it out there, and he has a very authentic Twitter account.
Watching him interact with basketball players or anybody about Golden State Cavaliers and the Cavaliers is a great thing to watch. Your favorite subjects in school?
History. Once they got to algebra, math scared me. But history has always fascinated me. I was lucky enough when I was a young boy, we lived in Virginia, very near Appomattox, very near Monticello with Thomas Jefferson's home. Some fascinating visits to those places, more, and lots of history up on the eastern seaboard where my family was from. So that always got in my skin when I was a young kid.
Favorite NSU teacher? There
are so many that I had, and I'll revert back to my days as a student, which were considerable, but two who really jump out, maybe three. Tommy Whitehead, who's still here in journalism and communications, just a brilliant teacher, a fabulous human being. Leroy Eversole, who was magnificent in the history department, geography, social sciences, and one of his contemporaries, Marietta Lebreton. She was an absolutely brilliant teacher.
Favorite vacation spot or activity?
What's a vacation? No, actually, I love going to visit my friends George Etheridge and David Morgan down in the Caribbean in St. Thomas. Can never do that enough.
Not a bad spot.
No.
And your best dance move?
Well, isn't it obvious?
It's got to be.
Do the Dougie.
It's got to be. You got to teach everybody how to do it.
No, I'm not to the instruction phase yet. But the NSU cheerleaders a few years ago when it came out tried to show me. Let's just say that another one of my handicaps as an athlete, I probably wasn't coachable and certainly not on the dance floor.
Doug Ireland, thank you very much.
My pleasure.